Did I seriously forget to put an intro in the last one? Anyway, welcome to another Thursday. It's time for another gear talk, and we're continuing on with what I said last week when we did the video talking about the second chapter of Hivebusters. Yes, I'm starting the new discussion. We're doing Hivebusters. You can consider that one or this one the kickoff video. It's up to you. But we're talking about it. We're going to go through, talk about all the characters. We're going to talk about probably the Wakatu I'll throw in there somewhere during all this discussion time. But today's video, I want to talk about the Hivebusters in general. What they are, what they do. Really just give a ground focus on, like, this is the group that's going around in the background in the events of, like, Gears of War. In the current stuff, as of Gears of War 5, this group is in the background doing things. They're the ones in the background taking care of the locusts because it's a planetary problem. The locust. Think about that for a moment. The locust, the locust were a problem. The swarm is now a problem across the whole planet of Sarah. So, with such little of humanity left, they can't cover everything. So, you have everyone going through taking care of Reyna, figuring that out. What's everyone else doing? Well, honestly, nothing. Aside from helping Kate, there's only a very select small amount of people that are either aware or are in practice of the Hivebuster program. So, well, let's jump in, let's talk about it, and let's see what we can figure out from pretty much not even figure out, but talk about the Hivebusters, because there's really not too much since it was just introduced as of Gears 5. Now, what the Hivebusters do, what they are in general, I love how the wiki explained it. They're pretty much extreme exterminators, is how it's worded. So their job pretty much is to go out to a hive. They're not even going out. They're being snatched by a snatcher. Yeah, here's how it's done. They have an adrenal injector they place on their face, pretty much like a face mask that it pumps in their adrenaline so it'll wake them up when the time comes. It's on a timer for that, and it filters out oxygen so they're able to breathe, so the transformation doesn't really happen right away, being turned into a juvie. It'll still happen, but once the adrenal gland is pumped up because of this chemical that's released from the adrenal injector, they pretty much pop out themselves because they're pretty much awake and they're going, and that's when they take it out. They put that in, get snatched by a snatcher, get podded inside the hive. Now, the pods are normally done very deep inside of the hive, as we've seen in 4, so once they're inside, they wake up, they bust out a venom bomb that they have attached to their chests. The snatchers aren't that bright. They bust it out, pump it into the ground. It has a timer set for it, and once that timer hits 0, the venom goes off. It's a powerful thing that'll go through and just wipe the hive. It goes through and just kills everything. It'll also kill humans. So the problem is that once it goes off, you only have one choice. You have to run. So the Hivebusters go in, and every mission is considered a suicide mission. Once they're in, if you die, well, that was a possibility. So they go through, put it off, and they have a pilot normally that'll come through and pick them up on the outside of the hive once they have contact. So once they set off the bomb, they have to make it out in a certain amount of time before the bomb hits them, and they have to get on the helicopter, Raven, plane, Condor, whatever they can get on pretty much, and just get out of there. So, as far as we're aware, there's only, I believe, 6 members of the Hivebusters themselves. It's stated to be a coalition of order government Hivebuster operation. The COG has nothing to do with it. Jin was not a fan of this. I'll get into that in a moment with the history of it all. But suffice to say, anyone who's a part of Hivebusters is from anywhere. They could be outsiders, they could be former COG, they could be current COG, they could be stranded, they could be anything. It does not matter. Once you are in that hive, you are getting out for your own life or for anybody, it doesn't matter. Now, Hoffman leads up everything, but Hoffman is leading it pretty much under the radar. He doesn't have authorization to do this. So, it's pretty much like, I don't know, you could say civilian job that's going on. But anyway, we'll get into that pretty much with the history. Now, like I said, none of this is COG related pretty much. The entire Hivebuster operation, yes, there are members of the COG in it, and originally they thought it was COG orientated for the program. For one, Victor Hoffman's leading the charge, but that's not the case. Nothing at all had to do with the COG. In fact, the COG is fully against this operation, not to the point where they're going to, like, what they did in 4, hunt someone down and kill them. They're not going to do that, but they openly gave a no. So Hoffman originally came up with the plan and said, look, obviously, like, sending DBs out to fight the swarm isn't working. It's not. By what we've seen from 4, Hoffman was already against it. Most old COG were against DBs originally in the first place. Even Marcus was. But everyone's like, no, it's not working. Hoffman was against it. Now, Bear did go through and he started to upgrade and play around with the DBs, make them a bit more flexible and fluid. That's what boot camp is 4 and 5, is to practice with the DBs. But they're still not up to code with like how a normal human would maneuver, how a normal swarm grunt would move around. So the problem comes up is, okay, they are not able to fight these guys correctly. We don't have enough humans to send out. What are we going to do? Hoffman just wanted to bomb them. He just wanted to say, let's get rid of the hive. Let's just destroy the hive. Boom, problem solved. Now, Jin was not a fan of this plan. Jin did not like this. Jin was like, no, we have the DBs. We're not going to put human lives on the line. There's too little of us. We can't do this. So Jin automatically said no and pretty much forced Hoffman into a soft retirement. I say soft because you're about to see why in a moment. So Hoffman sent out into a retirement phase, but Hoffman also has something that Jin either knows about or doesn't know about. It's never stated. He has a canister, or at least a supply of the chemical used over at the New Hope Research Facility that we've seen in Gears of War 2 and Gears 5. Now, in Gears 5, the chemical is used because originally Marcus didn't make it to the area in the original Gears 2 to, like, deal with that. He wasn't dealing with it face to face. They were in there and getting out. Kate, on the other hand, was exploring, and they set this thing off pretty much, and the chemical itself is very deadly. So the chemical is given off to Hoffman. It's not really stated how he got it, but he gets a hold of it. It's Hoffman. I'm sure he had a lot of connections. So he gets it, and he says, okay, this can kill things. This is going to kill a many a swarm. So he gets a hold of Hana Cole, and pretty much Cole's daughter, and says, like, listen, you're smart, you know about chemicals, you know all of this stuff, you know so many different things. I'm going to need you to help me make this bomb. And she asks, like, okay, it's Coalition, and he's like, yeah, totally, Coalition's totally behind it. So they go through, and they set all of this up, and they say, we need some people now. And this introduces up to Matheson, or Donald Matheson from the books, who worked comms pretty much during the book time when Anya was out learning and moving up the ranks. He is the informant for Hoffman for going through and getting people. And this is where we're introduced to our 3 main characters of the Hivebusters. I should also mention Tak is the pilot. Tak is a descendant of by Tak, so he's automatically very close with Hoffman because Hoffman's very close with the family. So Tak was probably in on this from day one. So Tak, Hana, and Hoffman are the people that are mainly over at the main base operating things. The scientists making things to make things work, Hoffman running the whole shebang, and Tak the pilot getting people back and forth. Now, like I said, Matheson is just a contact. He's not a part of any of this, but he's aware of what the Hivebuster program is. So you go through, and he goes through, and he gets 3 separate individuals that either have a reason to be there or are just specifically trained for this. And this introduces Mac, Lonnie, and Keegan. All right, we get Leslie Mack. I'm sorry I forgot his last name. You only hear Mac most of the time. Mac is an outsider, and his village was attacked and hit hard by the swarm. Now, he's pretty much the main focus in the comics, but he's not the leader of the group. That falls to Keegan. It's really misconstrued sometimes who is. It is Keegan as the leader of the group. Mac is just very heavily looked into, and he's seen a lot because he has a heavy connection with hive busting. Because, for instance, village attacked, Hive takes his family, he's ready for some revenge. So he's picked up because he's pretty much like a driver, a mechanic. He's pretty much able to work electronics that need working. That's kind of why he's picked up, and also he was kind of like, it's hard to say how he was really picked up. I mean, I haven't looked too far into it yet for him, but it was either he was picked up because he was volunteering for it and he just happened to come across Matheson and he was just like, you know what, I've got a program. Or Matheson came across me and he's like, this guy is going to be a good choice. One or the other. So that's Mac. Then we get Lonnie Caliso, or Caliso, who, depending how you want to say the name, Ty's not distant, but somewhat offhanded cousin. Now, she's very proud of her cousin and everything. This ain't a Ty video. But Lonnie is picked out for a bunch of different reasons. She's picked out because, for one, she has experience. She has a lot of experience. She was a part of the Brash Brigade. She would go through. She took out the last of the locusts that were left on the planet. Mac, he was an outsider, probably stranded beforehand. And then we have Keegan, who was on Azura as an Onyx Guard. Didn't really see that much action. So Lonnie's pretty much picked because she has the most experience out of any of them. And again, she's not in charge. She's considered the second in command, and she does outrank Keegan, but she's not in charge of anything. I say that so horribly. She's in charge if something were to happen. She's the next up in line. And I guess also she was chosen because two reasons. One, she was in prison, and I'm guessing because of her heritage and everything. Again, Hoffman fought with Ty many a time. Ty is known as this badass warrior, pretty much, and he was a part of the 26th RTI. Like, this man has history. Lonnie has a bunch of feats. 19 years old, and she joined the Brash Brigade. Like, they all have feats. And she's in prison right now, so, like, let's get her out of prison and bring her along. Let's do it. And then, finally, out of all of them, oh, yeah, I should also mention, apparently, like, by the DLC, apparently for her, she's chosen because she's short. Because she can, like, crawl through a bunch of things. So I guess they were looking for someone short to crawl through things. That's Hoffman's decision, not anyone else's, I guess. Finally, we get to Keegan. Now, with Keegan, he's the one... Now, like I said, you have experience with Lonnie. Lonnie has experience. Lonnie knows what she's doing. But Keegan probably held the most prestige out of them. Again, he was outranked, but he was Onyx Guard. This man, the Onyx Guard in general, were like the elites of the elites that were chosen. And he was obviously one of them. Now, he was enlisted into them. He didn't train to become one. But, again, he was so badass, he got pretty much like volunteered into it and he became one. Now, he's pretty much there because he knows all the codes for a bunch of bases. Again, he's Onyx Guard. He was at Azura. He knows a lot of stuff. So he knows the codes to get in and out of doors. He was chosen because he knows that. He was chosen because he's a very veteran from way back. He's been around for the entire Locust War. He's up there in age, yeah, but he was fully against retirement. And honestly, Hoffman understood that because Hoffman didn't want to retire even at his high age. Both of them share that. They both want to fight if they can fight. Obviously, Hoffman can't really fight the way he wants to, but Hoffman's out there doing something. Keegan wants to be out there doing something, and he wants to avenge the name of the Onyx Guard. The people at Azura that did nothing until like they got attacked finally. He at least wants to be there and say, I'm doing this for the Onyx. The OG Onyx, I'm here to represent them. So he's there code-wise. He's there to fight. And he takes up leadership because, again, Onyx Guard-wise, like, he gets outranked. But out of all of them, he probably has the most leadership ability. So that does it for the main three Hivebusters that we have that are brought in from Hoffman through Matheson to pretty much be enlisted into this program. Now, I would go over more about them in general, but I'm going to do character discussions on each member of the Hivebusters, not just Team Scorpio, but all of them. Hoffman will get a video. Hana will get a video. Tak will get a video. All of them will get videos. But I figured this should just be about the Hivebusters themselves. Now, are there more Hivebusters than just these 6? Presumably no. As far as we're aware of right now, these 6 are the only 6 that are actively doing something a part of the Hivebusters. Now, Matheson is an informant for Hoffman, but he's not there doing things. Hoffman's calling in favors for all of this stuff to get, like, equipment, to get transportation, to get all... He's calling in the last of his favors he's gathered through his entire military career. So, I'm going to assume these 6 are the only ones right now. But the program can kind of be set up for anyone can jump in and do it. Originally, too, in the comics, it stated that Lonnie and Keegan, they went through and they busted the hive they were supposed to bust. They did the mission that the DLC ends on and the comic picks up. It's pretty much a linear thing, just halfway through it goes to comic. So, they were already promised stuff that they would get. Lonnie was promised that she would get reunited with her squad, and then we also had Keegan get promised that he would meet up, I can't remember his name, the second to last that we know of survivor of the Onyx Guard, the original. That he would meet up with him. They would meet up and be just like, hey, we're the last. Not really knowing what would happen, but I guess just to meet up and have drinking stories, pretty much. So Hoffman says, like, you guys are free to go. I made you a promise. I'm going to keep my promise. If you guys want to stay, that's up to you. But, like, I've done everything I can to promise you. I can't do anything else if you stay. Pretty much, it seems like you can come and go as long as you keep it quiet, I guess. Because he did tell Mac afterwards, like, hey, we have another hive we're going to go out and bust. You're free to go if you want to. We can easily get you set up with 2 more people on another squad, and we can send you out there. So it does seem like Hoffman has the ability to at least call in some more favors and get more people in, but it just seems like he's dealing with a 1 hive, 3-person operation at the moment. So I'm going to assume that the Hivebusters are limited to just Team Scorpio. I'd like to believe that the Coalition got behind this. Like, you could easily have a bunch of other ones. Like, I did a thing on Twitter a while ago talking about if you could have your own Hivebuster team, who would it be? And I was just going down the list of zodiac signs. Like, for me, I'd be like, I had Team Taurus. I don't remember who I had on Team Taurus really off the top of my head. I had Mac in it, I remember. I think Hoffman was in it when he was younger, and I think Ty. I think that was my Team Taurus. Either that or I had Baird. I think I had Hoffman, Baird, and Mac, because the smart-ass back and forth would just be amazing to watch. So, like, do that. Like, go through the Zodiac. You only need 12. You only need 12 members, 12 teams. So 12 times 3 will give you 12, 24. You'll get 36 people in there. That's not a lot to watch over. Again, I don't know how much venom they have. The Wakatu, they had to go and get it from. Maybe they siphoned it and copied the DNA sequence. They could easily do that for the chemicals they got from New Hope, so I'm guessing that that's not a problem for them, but maybe they are limited with that. Maybe they're just like, hey, we're going to take out vital hives and take out and do the best we can, then we got to figure out what we're going to do from there. It seems like Hana's smart enough to just siphon out and create a duplicated DNA sequence and copy it, so I'm not really worried about that. Yeah, I'm going to assume it's just the 3 of them along with Tak, Hoffman, and Hana back at base for now. It didn't seem like a lot of planning was put into this, but not like a grand scale thing, because they are trying to keep it quiet from Jin. So yeah, I'm gonna guess it's just a 3-person operation at the moment. But that leads us into what's currently happening in Gears of War, the series itself, with the Hivebusters. Now, we know that after New Hope, Hoffman got his hand on the chemicals. So this happened, he would have gotten that halfway through 5. So that tells me that the events of the Hivebusters is probably taking place towards the middle to end of 5 or right after 5, or the events of the Hivebusters DLC. The Hivebusters DLC happens before the comics. So I'm going to assume everything was put in place and going in behind the scenes with Hoffman during that situation. That also explains why I didn't hear anything from him during the ending when, the last of humanity is about to get destroyed. I'm sure he was like, well, I'm gambling here like everything else right now. Let's hope humanity pulls through. And they did, luckily. Reyna made an appearance, but I mean, they made it out. So it probably happened around there, and then it does seem like after they got snatched, the comics take place right after. So I'm going to assume right after 5. Right after 5 is where everything begins for the DLC. And if you go all the way through, the furthest we currently have in the story of Gears of War is probably the ending of the Gears 5 comics for the Hivebusters. So I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm going through the chapter review, so I'm not going to say anything about chapter 3 through 5 on that one. I've already did 1 and 2. Go check them out if you want. Thank you. So that's the furthest we have in the series right now. So I'm going to assume the Hivebusters are going to continue going hive by hive. By what I've heard, like, again, no spoilers, but I'm guessing that's what's going to be occurring because they're so popular characters right now. I don't think they would just kill them off at this point. They're going to go hive by hive and just try their best just to minimize the numbers being created. Again, hives can be made, but they can be destroyed too. So they're probably going through and just destroying hives and just trying to keep the numbers low enough where humanity can overthrow and destroy them, or there's not just a wave like they had with the locusts. That's my assumption on that one. And that's going to do it for this video. I was going to keep it shorter. I say that about every video I do. I'm sorry about that, but you got to talk about the group themselves. This video would have been an hour long just giving a bare gist of all the characters. So I'm happy I didn't talk about Mac, Lonnie, or Keegan. That would have easily been an hour and a half. Hoffman himself, by himself, would be just as long. And then Hana and Tak probably add on another 20 minutes. So I'm not going to go in detail about everybody. That's separate video time all on its own. So for this one, just talking about the Hivebusters in general, what's going on, who they are, the extreme exterminators pretty much. Yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Thank everyone for watching pretty much. Thank everyone for making all this possible. Thank the patrons for making this possible. I'll see you guys in the next video. Probably a chapter review for the next Hivebusters. I'm going to do every other. And like I said, like I'll probably throw the Wakatu in here somewhere. And I'll probably talk about Hoffman at the very end. So you guys have a great one. See you in the next Gear Talk. Later.